There we go. You guys are amazing. Always have my back. All right. So we're going to be working today with myofascial release that is designed to help regulate and calm the system. And when I say regulate, what I mean is maybe something doesn't feel like it's kind of meeting you where you need it to in terms of support from your nervous system, from your muscles, from your energetic system, your energy levels and things like that. Or maybe it feels like something is a little bit like too much right now. So when I say regulate, really, we're not looking to kind of think of this as like turning it up or turning it down, but kind of just bringing things into more of this state of evenness throughout. And like I said, that can be kind of your nervous system in terms of stress and anxiety and tension, which are all kind of functions of the nervous system, and regulation or dysregulation. Muscular system, so again, that could be an overlap with the nervous system of tension, that could be circulation or inflammation in your body, or energy levels or energetic feelings, kind of this feeling of being kind of spaced out and all over the place versus being grounded and centered. So we're going to kind of come at the problem from all angles, and so this is a really nice practice to come back to if you're not really sure what you need, but you feel like things just don't feel right in the system. So, or if you just need a nice neutral practice, this will be what you need. So for the practice today, grab a block, 2 balls, same size, separated, and then a blanket. And if you don't have a blanket, it could be just a towel or something like that. Or you can even use your mat for it, what we're going to use it for, but that sometimes is a little intense. And then let me get this thing out of the way. And we're going to start out. I'm going to give you 2 options for this first piece. If you are relatively comfortable in child's pose, that's going to be your option for this first one. If child's pose is not, and I realize that people always say child's pose is a nice resting pose. I realize for everybody it's not. So if that's you, you're going to get another option. But grab your block and your blanket, or if you have a second block or something like that. We're just going to use the blanket for support under the chest. So it's sort of like a mix between child's pose and a supported child's pose. So I'm just going to take my blanket, like kind of from this fold it again. So it's almost like a big block, but it's softer. And again, that's going to be just under my chest. And then from there, I'm going to put the block at the top because I'm going to put the center of my forehead just a little bit above your eyebrow line. So eyebrow line, just a little bit above that, right in the center of your forehead on the block. All right. If you have a really firm block, you might want to lay something over it first, just so you have a little bit of support there. So I'm just going to bring the blanket in close enough that when I come into child's pose, it's giving me a little support under my chest. And then from there, I'm going to bring the block in and place the pressure of the block right in that center part of the forehead. Now, again, if child's pose, this position is not comfortable for you to stay in for like a minute, then you're just going to push all the props forward, use the blanket under your chest, almost like you're coming up into Sphinx pose, but then let your head rest on the block. And again, you can bring it up to different heights. We're just looking for the pressure and this feeling of something to lean into. So your choice there, choose something that you can stay with for a little while. And as you start to really rest and lean in there, you can separate your knees a little bit more if you're in child's pose. But give yourself that feeling of being able to lean your ribs into the blanket. Try to take the weight out of your shoulders as much as possible, especially if you're in child's pose. See if you can take your elbows out a little bit so that the full weight of your ribs and skull can lean into the props. Now, if you're up in that belly down version of like Sphinx pose, you're going to need your arms a little bit, but try to use them as little as possible so you can feel the weight of your ribs, feel the weight of your skull leaning into the support. So you really want to try to let the weight of your body, let gravity do the work there. And then in either position, see if you can soften the sides of your neck and really welcome that pressure into the center of your forehead. Just letting yourself lean in. And then I'm going to give you one more option here. So you can stay like this, welcoming the pressure, letting yourself drop in, feeling the weight of the ribs and the head. or using as little muscular effort as possible, start to gently rock your head a little from side to side. Now I'm not going very far, maybe like 3 centimeters, because I'm really trying to keep my neck relaxed. And I'm really also just letting the heaviness of my head create the pressure. So rather than firing at my neck to push my head into the block, I'm really just softening all the way around the neck and just gently letting it roll a little from side to side. So either staying still there, softening, leaning in, relaxing, putting the nervous system into a state where self-regulation, emotional regulation, mental regulation, stress regulation, hormone regulation, where all of those things can become a little bit more balanced. It's hard to regulate when you're in an amplified state or a highly sympathetic or reactive state. Just starting here by cleaning the slate. And then if you've been moving your head, bring it back to the center there. Everyone take a breath in and exhale. And then whichever position you're in, start to come up and just sit for a moment. You can sit in hero's pose. You can sit in easy seat. You can put the blanket or the block under your sit bones there. And just take a moment here to feel the effects of that pressure on the head. Feel it almost trickling or dripping down through your body, creating this almost bathing of the cells in calm, clearing the slate. Nice. And then from here, we're going to work with the ball or one of the balls. I'm going to turn to face you here for this part. So we're going to be working on a point in Chinese medicine that's called stomach 36. It's kind of here. You can find let's start with the right side. You start with the right shin bone. It's just to the right side, just below the bones of the knee. So kind of up in this upper kind of pocket area, just below the knee and close to the shin. So for this one, I like to take the other leg out to the side and just sort of behind me so that I can kind of lean forward into the front leg. But you can find some orientation that works for you. And to find the right shin, go just to the right side of that, just to the outside, just below the bones of the knee. Now, with this, we're looking for tender spots. So this is a starting point here. And then you're going to either wiggle around a little bit there or just kind of lean into it when you find a tender spot kind of towards the outer part of your right shin there. And you might need to just kind of move the ball around a little bit till you find something. But when you find something, you're just going to stay with it. And again, you can lean in, you can put your hands on the floor and just kind of let your body weight lean in. You can use your arm if you like. And then whatever you're doing with the left leg is fine, just so that you feel steady and supported there. And then we're going to add one more layer onto this. So we're putting a little bit of pressure there onto the outer right shin in any area that feels a little bit tender. And at the same time, if you can pull your pant leg up and get to your skin, great. If not, do not worry about it. You can do this down. I'm just going to pull it up so you can see what's happening here. But if you find your right shin, we're going to work on the inside of the shin. So find your shin with your thumb, your left thumb probably, maybe both thumbs, but I think left thumb is probably nicer so you can lean into your right arm. And just to the inside of your shin, you're going to work your way up the shin. Now you can kind of push in and up if you have enough lubrication on your thumbs or on your skin or in your clothing. You might be able to just sort of massage up, or just press in as you work your way up and find any tender spots along the way. If you find something that feels tender, keep the pressure and stay there. Now, generally on the inner line of the shin, there's lots of things that you can explore and press into. So just again, looking for, oh, there's a good one. Any tender spots there on the inside of the shin while applying that pressure to the outer shin. Again, you can get a little bit curious there. There's no right or wrong way to do this. But as you sort of work on these tender spots, see if you can soften yourself. So here we're working on that outer part of the shin, which is one of your ankle stabilizers from a physiological perspective. And the inner side is also part of the functionality of the ankle. And what's interesting there is that around the ankle, most of the proprioception, a lot or a high concentration of the proprioception, your ability to tell where you are in space, is in your ankle. So these muscles are really important for that ability to self-regulate and adapt to changing circumstances from a physical perspective. And from a Chinese medicine perspective, these are areas that are really interesting to explore in regulation of hormones. So ladies, especially aging ladies, we're all aging. But as we go through life, our hormone balance changes. And so these are really powerful points in acupuncture and acupressure for regulation of hormones, but also regulation of inflammation. And the science, the Western medicine actually supports that on that outer piece here where the ball is, a powerful point for anti-inflammatory. So regulation, again, of the internal environment, as well as from a physical perspective, regulation of self in relation to the outside environment. So interesting intersection here. Just take another moment or two there. Good. And then come up to sit. Again, you can sit on something, sitting up on something, or just sit on the floor, and take a moment there to notice the difference in the two sides. Noticing if there's maybe a little bit more clarity or sensation or awareness of the lower right leg versus the left leg. And we're just going to do the same thing on the other side. So starting with the ball. So if you come into easy seat, take your right leg somewhere over to the right to get it out of your way. Usually this 90-90 position is a little bit easier for you to lean into the left hip. And then you're going to find the left shin bone, go just to the outside of it, just below the bones of your knee as a starting point. And then again, you can sort of explore there. And we are a little bit more towards the front of the shin than the side of the calves. Don't worry, we're going to get the back of the calves here in a moment. But we're still working towards kind of that front outer left part of the shin. And when you find something, you can either put your arm on your leg and lean into that, or just kind of lean over to the side and let gravity do the work. But you're looking for a little bit of tenderness, not anything that makes you want to scream or get out of it, because we're going to be here for a little while. So just find that area of tenderness for you. Let the weight of your leg kind of lean into that pressure. And then you can just stay with that. Or if you liked that kind of inner line of the shin there, kind of behind the shin up the inner part of the leg, you can do that as well. And again, you can sort of massage into that tissue just there to the side of the bone, or you can just kind of press in with your thumb and work your way up until you find something that feels a little bit tender. And generally there's more than one. So you can commit to one, or if you like, you could just kind of move up and down along that whole line up the inside of the shin there. And again, you can do it on bare skin, or you can do it through your clothes. It won't change it either way. And then again, you maybe even use your fingers there if thumb is not the right answer for you. But generally, it's a little less pressure is better here, because the thumbs can sometimes get a little bit cramped up if you're not used to using them in this way. It does get better if you work on it, as with all things in the body. But initially, it might be maybe knuckle is a little bit better, or one of your other fingers. But if you can, thumb usually gives you a little bit more control. And again, just leaning in, welcoming the pressure into those areas as a form of stimulation to help reset the nervous system and the muscles, circulation. But also to perhaps reset some of the awareness, waking up some of those receptors in the legs that allow for not only adjusting your position in relation to the world around you, but regulating the internal self as well. So all of these different systems and organs within the body are able to self-regulate under the right conditions. So we're really kind of turning up the volume on these internal sensations and functions in order to help self-regulate the system. And take just another moment or two there. So if you're moving your thumb around, maybe find something you want to stay with. Breathe in and exhale. Nice. And then come off of that, come up to sit and just take a moment there, noticing maybe if there's been a change to the way the legs feel. Maybe there's a little change to the way your mind feels. A change to your emotions, or maybe something even more subtle than that. Nice. And then grab your blanket. Again, you can do this with like a towel or even your mat if you don't have a blanket nearby. But we're going to do a little bit of stimulation to the back of the calves, the lines up the back of the calves. So you're going to roll up your blanket a little bit. Don't roll it up all the way. We're not trying to send your body into panic mode. We're just trying to create a little bit of stimulation there to the tissues. So roll it up a little bit. And make sure if you roll it up, that you roll it up tight. I've got maybe 3 inches of a roll there when it's compressed. So a pretty small roll. And then you're just going to place that beside you so that you're able to grab onto it here in a moment. And then from here, you're going to take gently the top of your head. So if you were wearing a crown, where it would be. So the actual crown of your head, not your forehead, not the front of your head, top of your head. You're going to put that on the floor lightly, grab your blanket, and just wedge it in as close as you can behind your hamstrings and your calves. And then start to support yourself with your hands as you sit your hips back slightly. So with this one, I want there to be sensation, but not freak out levels of sensation. We're trying to regulate the system, not send it into overdrive. So as you come into this, you might just keep your hands on the floor. And if that feels a little low, you might bring your hands up on the block and just lean in there and let your body sort of settle into that. If you're comfortable there, you can come up a little bit higher. But again, if the alarms start to go off, just start to come forward slightly. Again, we're trying to bring down any of these kind of out of balance or overactive or overstimulated parts of the system. So we're looking for that middle path. Enough sensation to feel it, not so much sensation that it's creating or stirring a lot of things up. And just giving yourself permission to linger in that space can be the hardest thing. As humans, we are stimulation hungry. We're always looking for a little bit more, and even to the point of dysfunction sometimes. So just give yourself permission to be just a little bit out of that comfort zone where you're searching for more intensity or more sensation. Maybe linger in that space where there's just a little bit less, giving the system a chance to recalibrate. Take another breath there. And exhale. Now we're just going to go down about a third. So again, you can put the crown of your head on the floor, pick your hips up, take the blanket and move it down maybe a half an inch or an inch from where you were so that you're right in the bulky part of your calves. And then again, come on up. And as it moves down, you might be more comfortable coming up, right? You might still keep your hands on the floor. You might come out and roll the blanket a little bit more for more sensation or unroll it for a little bit less. But again, just allow yourself to be in that space where you're somewhere in the middle. So that there's some sensation there, but not anywhere close to maximum tolerable. This practice sometimes of allowing yourself to be not at end range or not at the end of your capacity or anywhere even close to it. Sometimes a really powerful practice, just this ability to self-regulate how much we're putting into every moment of our lives, how much we're we're trying to squeeze out of every moment of our lives, and just being somewhere in the middle. Not always the easiest thing to do, but often is really beneficial for every system of the body, for your hormones, for your nervous system, even for your muscles and bones. And take just another breath in there and exhale. Nice. And then we're going to do one more spot. So come forward again, head to the floor. And for this one, we're just going to go a little bit lower. So you might just roll the blanket a little bit thicker there. So we're just at the bottom of the bulky part of the calves where the Achilles tendon forms. So sort of that, you can picture sort of that teardrop shape of the calves. We're going to be close to the bottom of that teardrop. And again, you can come up, maybe roll it a little bit more if you need a little bit more intensity to feel it there. Maybe roll it a little bit less if you're kind of like, oh my goodness, this is a lot. And again, recognizing any grasping for more or to extract more or to get more intensity or more sensation. Recognize that within yourself, and even just choosing to regulate that. Allowing yourself to not be at maximum output or maximum capacity. Being in this space in the middle where our bodies were actually designed to work best. Somewhere in the middle of the extremes. Because when we're at an extreme, our body is really trying to just keep us alive. Hence all the panic that tends to ensue internally. And so if we live our lives kind of at the edge of our capacity, always trying to squeeze more out of ourselves, there's no opportunity for our system to regulate. So it's really this sweet spot in the middle that we can come back to as sort of a home base that allows us the opportunity to really maximize these systems within that are designed to regulate themselves. Let's take a breath there. And exhale. Nice. And then come forward and off of that. And from there, you're going to come down onto your back, but have your blanket and your balls nearby. As you come down onto your back, just take a moment there, extend your legs out, and notice that sort of electrical charge, those ripples out from the legs through the rest of your body, creating this whole body connection. And then grab your blanket. You can use your block as well, but I think blanket's kind of nice for this. And just kind of ball it up or fold it up so it can go under your head. You're going to take the ball, one of the balls, in your left hand, or sorry, in your right hand. Extend your left arm up straight towards the ceiling. And then from the outer edge of your arm, you're going to roll the ball down and tuck it just behind your left arm. So just on the back of your left shoulder at the level of your arm, and then drop your left arm out to the side. Now you might just stay there, wiggle around, find something that feels tender and stick with that. If you'd like a little bit more sensation, bend your knees, feet to the floor, and you're going to lift your right shoulder up off the floor and start to move it so that it's moving towards being stacked over your left. I wouldn't recommend fully stacking them, but you could. But find an area that feels tender. We're just going to stay there for a few moments, softening the back of the shoulder, working on the back of the rotator cuff here. Just taking a few moments there to feel that pressure soften into it, recalibrating the tension through the shoulders. And just another moment or two there. If the tender area that you're on starts to soften, maybe wiggle a little bit, find something else. Just tuning into that internal tension and seeing if you can reset it by applying a little pressure and a little attention. And then slowly start to roll off of that. Take a moment there in between sides just to notice the feeling of your right shoulder versus your left shoulder. Notice what's shifted, what's regulated. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So the ball is in your left hand. Take your right arm up, roll the ball down the back of your arm, tuck it in right behind your shoulder there. And then when you get into that position, drop your right arm out to the side. And again, you can just kind of wiggle and stay. Look for something that feels tender there. Ooh, that's a good one. Or if you like, you can start to lift your left shoulder up a little bit, moving towards stacking it over the right, but I wouldn't recommend going all the way in. That can be a little tough to take. Just finding something that feels tender, regulating how much intensity you're applying, and then being in a space that allows you to soften. So notice that if you push yourself into too much intensity, it becomes very difficult to soften the tension, to soften yourself. So can you allow yourself to be in a space that allows for this regulation of the system? Can you choose an intensity temporarily that allows you to function at more of this baseline level? Take another breath in there and exhale. And then come off of that, take the ball out from underneath you again. Take a moment there on your back just to notice. And the noticing is a really important part of this interoceptive capacity, this ability for you to recognize what's happening inside, so that regulation, these different systems in the body can help regulate any imbalances. You have to be still long enough for things to figure out where they are. There has to be enough empty space for the system to feel its way into these areas that have become imbalanced. Take just another breath in there in this still empty space, noticing this awareness of yourself. And then as you're ready, start to bring yourself up to sit, so you can roll over or come up in whatever way seems most helpful for you. Tapping into this internal awareness, this visualization of this inner landscape, and sort of preventative maintenance or a checkup, like you'd go to the doctor and then taking in all of your vitals. You have this capacity to check in with yourself at every moment and to really tap into this ability to regulate yourself in relation to the world around you. Bring your palms to touch in front of your heart. Slight bow to yourself, a gesture of gratitude for taking the time to be still, to be in this middle space, to really optimize your ability to support yourself. Thank you so much for joining me for this practice. I hope that it was helpful and that it supports you through the rest of your day. Namaste. Thank you all.